Hey guys, I'm joined once again by Mr. Neil Pickup, Mr. Supernatural. How you doing, buddy?
I'm really good, mate. I'm excited because we're closing in now, aren't we?
We
Only
are indeed. So the reason I've got Neil on this Friday, I believe the 28th of May, is the King of the Table, big arm wrestling match between Monster Michael Todd and Devon Larratt, I believe I've
yes,
been
yeah,
corrected.
yeah. He
I
gets
got
it from all angles, doesn't he,
I, I,
Larratt?
I got in trouble for saying Larratt, and I've been told it's Larratt like carrot. So
That's the one.
I'm on it now. We're good. So I'm really excited about this. Neil and myself are doing the commentating for this. So we're not over in Dubai. We're going to be doing it remotely, but it's an absolute pleasure to be doing this with you, Neil. I know you're the man when it comes to arm wrestling, particularly for the commentating side of things, but also for the sport in the UK. And I just wanted to sort of introduce some of maybe my strongman fans to this event that's going on because it's a big match, isn't it?
It is, mate. And firstly, likewise, an honour to be presenting this thing with you, mate. I mean, it's actually great. I really enjoy doing this, and particularly when you can work with people that you know very well. Obviously, we know each other from the Giants events and the Strongman events generally. So I think this is going to be really fun. And you hit the nail on the head. What I love about this event so much is the massive crossover appeal that it has. It's really, I'd say, probably more significant than any event that I've ever seen. It's got more of a flavour in that sense than any other. I mean, you've got obviously Larry Wheels competing in the first match, in the prelim match, and Larry's sort of the original crossover strength athlete. He's not really categorized, is he? You know what I mean? He's not.
He's just an incredible, athlete, freak of nature, like a man with incredible strength that seems to be able to cross over into all these different sports, whether it's powerlifting, bodybuilding, strongman, arm wrestling. He's someone that, and he's brought a lot of new eyes to all these sports as well. For someone like myself, who's relatively new to arm wrestling, I've been involved and interested in it for a couple of years now. But it seems like the popularity is kind of just flying through the roof at the moment. And I think people like Larry have to be given a bit of credit for that, surely.
Enormous amount, mate. I mean, it's a weird set of criteria, isn't it? When the world went into the COVID-19 pandemic, everybody was sort of down. We were kept away from all sports for so long. But weirdly enough, there's some real benefits come out of it, you know. The whole sort of social media community seems to have gone wild. We've seen strange events, different events. It's almost like we've had to evolve.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the brainchild of that closed down period that's come out of it. And we're seeing two excellent matches that we maybe otherwise wouldn't have seen. So, you know, it's funny how things work out, isn't it? Sliding doors and all that.
It is. Well, let's start off with this. I guess the first match is going to be Schoolboy versus Larry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we should say there's actually three, isn't there now? We're forgetting about Coach Ray and Mazza here, which is
I didn't know about this one.
This is literally, I believe, this last 3-4 days. There was an announcement on Larry's channel that Coach Ray Lipinge, who's over there, who's
I've
for
seen
those
he's been
people,
over helping
yeah,
Larry. Yep.
he's been there sort of like a technical coach. Ray is the president of the Latvian Arm Wrestling Federation, and he is actually a professional arm wrestling coach. Yes, there is such a thing in Latvia, and he is the coach of the Latvian arm wrestling team. Pretty small nation, but some exceptional athletes coming out of there. The most famous of whom is probably Janis Amelins, but Norman Thompson's, other guys that have been right there at world level have all come out of Latvia. Coach Ray is one of the key or the cornerstones of the Latvian Arm Wrestling Federation, and he's got a very diligent professional approach to the sport. And I think that's really helped Larry to sort of simplify things, take that step back and get the fundamentals, the basic principles in place, slow it all down. And I think he feels that he's in a better place as a result of that. I think he got fast tracked. And it's a lot.
Sometimes when you get great athletes giving you advice, it can be a bit overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I think someone like Ray is going to give him that kind of simple information, get the basics right, and then you start building that confidence because it's so.
Yeah.
I mean, someone like Michael, for instance, who went out to Dubai, spent a lot of time there, is a very unique arm wrestler, isn't he?
Isn't he just? Yeah. Yeah,
So,
very, very, very weird in terms of style. You're not going to go and show everybody that
I,
kind of thing. It's one of
I remember when I first got into strongman, traveling around the country, training with some of the best guys at the time, and I've always been fascinated by the technical side of things and wanting to learn and improve.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd ask some of these guys that were exceptional at certain events, like, how do you do this? Like, just do it, just lift it. You know, they don't know how they do it sometimes. So someone like Ray, who's
strange
really...
that's the thing.
Yeah.
You'd be amazing. How do you do that? Nah, I'm not really sure. Never thought about it.
But it's so often true. You see these incredible athletes and they're like, well, I don't know how I do it. I just do it. You just pick it up and go.
Never wrote it down.
No. And I love that. But I also, you know, I like to analyze and kind of break things down. So I think having someone like Coach Ray is obviously going to help him massively.
Yeah. Did you catch Larry on the fix the other day?
I didn't quite. I kind of joined in about halfway through.
Mate, he had an air of confidence about him and it's hard to not buy into that. You know what I mean? I mean, I've got Larry probably struggling. I think I'd love to see the man win. My God, for so many reasons. I mean, biased reasons. You know, you want the sport to succeed, and you feel like if Larry can win, then there's a much better chance that he's going to get bitten by the bug and he's going to want to run with it, you know. But there was a definite air of extreme confidence, real solidity about his demeanor. And it's hard not to get washed away in that tide of positivity, you know. And you wonder where he's at. And I think one of the key things, not to sort of overlook Coach Ray and Mazahir, that's not one of the matches that people have come to see. They've come to see Larry and Schoolboy. They've come to see Devon and Mike. And in the Larry Schoolboy thing, you've got to try and feel for Schoolboy because he's only a young man. He's under the spotlight, and I
wanted to ask you about him because this sounds ridiculous because he's probably the most popular arm wrestler on YouTube in terms of viewing figures.
Yeah.
You know, there's millions of views on his channel, but you never see an interview with him. You never hear him talking. You know, whereas guys like Devon and Michael, we see them all the time on their channels. You know, we can kind of buy into those personalities. Mm-hmm. What's this guy like? I mean, I know he's called Schoolboy, but he's not a school kid anymore, is he?
No, it's just that his school man he is now. I think he's probably late. I think he's late 20s or something like that. But
late 20s.
I believe he's mid to late 20s.
Okay.
I'll have to just check his actual age.
So he's definitely not Schoolboy anymore.
No, he is a big man. Yeah. That's the first thing that I would say needs to be very clear in everybody's mind. We're not talking about a small, insignificant, you know, obviously the famous clip from arm wrestling television when he's arm wrestling in Times Square and he's beating everyone. And he has that look about him where he looks like this innocent schoolboy. And that's where the name came from. But we're talking about a man who's 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighs like 250 pounds. He's not
he's a big boy then.
He's a big lad. You wouldn't like the top bunk to break while he was above you, would you? Know what I mean? You'd know he was there. So that's the biggest thing. The other thing to note about Schoolboy, the Bazaikov boys generally, his brother, also Alex, very good arm wrestler, solid arm wrestler, left and right arm. There's a potential that we'll see him in action over there, but we'll see. But both polished, both been around the sport and obsessed with the sport for a hell of a long period of time. So the important thing to note about Schoolboy is the fact that he's sort of been encapsulated within the sport of arm wrestling for so many years. Yeah. And he's got a real good, solid technical foundation, technical grounding in the sport. That is worth a lot. It's worth a great deal. And he will have encountered, just because of the nature of arm wrestling and the throughput and the flow of arm wrestling, a lot of very big, strong men come into the sport. Now, I'm not saying that Larry's not truly exceptional in that respect, because he quite clearly is. But a lot of very, very strong men come into the sport, and their power can be negated to a certain level.
Yeah.
More so by a guy who's got really, really good levers, because the long lever gives you more options in the match.
Okay.
The simple way to sort of to say that is that it is a better angle, a better physical makeup genetically to allow you to neutralize your opponent. Because if you sit in its most simple form, it's a hell of a lot more to it than this. But in its most simple form, we're talking about an arc of, or a plane of movement, an arc of movement in this direction, in this direction, in this direction, or if you're coming into press, you know, it's always that arc of motion. If you can get outside of the natural arc of your opponent, so if you can reach further, reach higher, climb for that height, you can neutralize a great deal of strength. Now, most guys that are new to the sport, and by new, you know, a year in, even a couple of years in, they may have got the basic fundamental techniques, but there are always going to be sticking points within that range of movement.
Yeah.
Areas where they're not going to feel comfortable, where they're not going to feel at home. When you hit one of those sticking points, if you're against a very experienced arm wrestler, they can take a great deal away from you. And the issue that you then face is that if they don't finish the match, you can end up losing it. It's almost like in a UFC match. If one guy catches you and then he blasts away and you come out with a really bad cut and the blood's running into your eye, it's potentially game-changing.
Yeah.
In this situation, Larry could end up heavily pumped up, a lot of lactic acid, and from that position, it's a hard road, because all the things that he could draw upon, all the power advantage that he will have physically, would be just burned into the ether. You know.
So do you think Larry needs to win quickly then, if he's going to?
What Larry needs to do is try to make the match happen in a phone box. He needs to keep the match close. He needs to shut down the light, shut out the light, keep it close, keep it tight, and try to make sure that he doesn't allow Schoolboy to get range. Now, Schoolboy will probably look to either keep as far back as he can and just, he's a purist top roller.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to see. There's no sort of surprise really coming from Schoolboy. If you were going in there and you're one of the Bazaikov boys and you're looking at that, you're going to think, right, okay, we've got a really big, powerful lad in Larry. He's explosive, but you've got better leverage. You're at least as quick, and you're going to be much more fluid in your range of techniques than he is. So what you've got to do is try and unsettle him early. So no real mystique about what we're going to see from Schoolboy. He's going to try to attack Larry's hand and wrist, expose something in Larry, and then get a bite on it and hang on. And if he can do that, he can then bleed Larry. Just what we call bleeding is basically get him into a poor position and then keep that pressure on so that the lactic acid buildup becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And at that time, the more lactic acid, the more pumped that he gets, Larry's going to lose more and more of that advantage in any strength advantage that he's got. It's just going to be.
I've felt that just, you know, down the local club. Once that arm kind of pumps up and, you know, it's full of lactic acid,
yeah,
the strength just goes rapidly. You can be as big and strong as you like, but
it's a real problem for any new arm wrestler, because practice, however good, however complete, is extremely different to real match scenario.
Yeah,
it just is. The whole range of emotions, everything that goes with it, is going to be dangerous. And it leaves the opportunity for Larry, or a wider opportunity for Larry, to make some mistakes there. And that's not something that Larry needs to be embarrassed about, ashamed of. The guy is brand new to the sport, you know?
Yeah.
But for me, that, and I'll talk about this when we're doing the commentary a great deal, I'm sure this is something that really interests me. The amount of eyeballs on this thing from the world of strongman, from the world of strength sport generally, and from the world, for Schoolboy, this is an issue, from the world of arm wrestling specifically, is really significant. There's going to be a lot of people watching this. And if you're Schoolboy, you got to live up to that reputation, and you're the favorite.
Yeah.
If I was going into a match with Larry Wheels, I'd feel like I was the favorite.
Sure.
I'd feel like I'm the arm wrestler. So I should. This ain't a deadlifting competition. It's not a bench press competition. Then it'd be the pressure would be on Larry. Different. You know? But in arm wrestling, Alex has all that pedigree. He's got to live up to that. Yeah. And he's only a relatively young man. And he's relatively inexperienced in this kind of scenario, in the big bright light scenario. As you say, he's not a guy that goes on there and fronts it. He's not the guy that goes on there as the spokesperson. He just is the, if you will, the face. His brother makes the footage. He goes on there And I feel for Alex a little bit because I think he's going to be nervous going into this.
I was going to say he will be if he's got the whole arm wrestling community kind of putting that pressure on him that he's got to beat, and you see it all the time. People kind of say, oh, whenever a strong guy comes into arm wrestling, it's like they're big and strong, but they can't arm wrestle. And it's a very real thing. But Larry has had a lot of advice in a short period of time. He's had a lot of training from a lot of good people. Clearly, you can see the progress that he's been making, and they've already arm wrestled before, haven't they?
They have, and let's be honest. There's a lot of you hit the nail on the head early in the tonight's discussion, mate. You said obviously this guy's the most popular, probably the most widely viewed. Well, in fact, definitely is the most widely viewed arm wrestler on YouTube at the moment. But he is by no means invincible. He can be beaten, What we're looking at here is whether Larry's got the ability within the short period of time, relatively short period of time, that he has been, and this is another key thing, he has been primarily focused on arm wrestling. It's all right being in arm wrestling, you know what I mean? But primary focus, let's be honest, Larry Wheels, we've seen him doing friggin' only a few months ago or a year ago, he was in the strongman world. He was doing a great deal of strongman training. Yeah. Even in COVID, I think he was still heavily training for strongman.
I think even when Michael was over there training with him, he was training a lot of strongman events at the time still.
So I think Coach Ray's been over there, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks, let's say 8 weeks to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's still a relatively insignificant period of time, for him to get all the disparate elements he's going to need to be able to shut this match down in the way he needs. And it's a really fascinating mental battle, physical battle, and who comes out on top of that, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to see how that goes.
Do you think, before we move on to the main event, do you think if Schoolboy doesn't win this, that's going to affect his arm wrestling career? Because I think the way I see it, like Larry Wheels, win or lose, he can go on from this, and it's a great experience. He can kind of push on. If he loses, he's meant to lose. If he wins, it's a bonus. He can kind of. Whereas Schoolboy's got that pressure of, you're the arm wrestler, you've got all these views of you beating all these people, and I sort of, I know more and more about arm wrestling, and as good as Schoolboy is, some people say he's like the best in the world. I know he's clearly not. He's not even top few in the world, is he?
No. He's really not. What Schoolboy is, if somebody said, okay, describe Schoolboy. Schoolboy is a rising potential. Yep. That's what he really is. He's a guy that is very serious. So if you break Schoolboy down as an athlete, he's a big man. He's got a lot of ability with his top roll. He's relatively young and he's still developing their form. This is another interesting thing. The guy may show up much stronger than we've seen him. We don't know how focused or otherwise he is. He is a very serious arm wrestler. A win against Schoolboy is a good win for anyone who is not in the elite level of arm wrestling, But he's by no means Levon Saganashvili. This isn't Vitaly Lalatin. It's not Devon Larratt. It's not one of the elite arm wrestlers by any stretch. He has recently had a little bit of shade thrown at him, jealousy related mainly, where people have said, oh, this guy ain't that good. He can't beat Yevgeny Prudnik. He can't beat Peter Margaret. He's not going to beat the top guys in the world. No, he's not. But he never claimed to. I've never heard Alexei come on to anything and say, oh, yeah, I'm amazing. I can beat it. He's not that guy.
He seems like quite a humble guy, to be honest, from what I've seen.
Mate, he's a very, very humble guy. He's a very nice kid. The Bezaikov boys generally are, you will struggle to find people who've got a bad word to say about them. Yeah. They're very nice guys. They're very realistic guys, grounded guys. They know exactly where they're at in the sport. They're not making any rash claims. They're not going out there and saying, we're invincible and beating the chest. It's just not what they're about. Yeah. They know where they're at. They know they're solid arm wrestlers. They know they're a real threat. But they also know that they're not Prudnik, they're not Rustam Babayev. Sure, and we got to remember that,
So what's the prediction then on this first match? Or second match?
Schoolboy. Yep. I hope I'm wrong, actually. But I've got Schoolboy winning, and I think that if he does win the match, he wins it relatively comfortably. And in that, I mean that he'll have to work because Larry's strong.
Yeah.
He may lose the odd pin, but I don't necessarily feel that is going to be the case. If he can get control early, and if he's got the ability, we'll know very early where it is, because if he gets control of the match, real control, I think he would look to bleed Larry. I think he'd look to put miles on the clock. I certainly would.
Yeah.
If I was pulling that guy, I'd think, right, if I get a bite on you, I might make it look a little harder than it actually is, just so that the inexperience that Larry has would take over. Yes, yeah. And he'll burn himself out.
So now that's where that kind of experience comes in.
Huge. And the one thing that Larry's got in his arsenal here is Ray is going to be over there with him. Ray will be able to spot that and may tell him to lie down if he gets to a position where it's unassailable. Ray may be sort of like, he may look across to Ray and Ray go, let that go. Looking to, keep some in the tank, go again, and hopefully this time the serve doesn't go into the net and he can land something. But let's be honest, in Larry, we're talking about a man who is extremely powerful, very explosive. From what I've heard from Raymond Lipinge, who's a very knowledgeable bloke, and let's be honest, I've not been out there arm wrestling with Larry Wheels, so I don't know where he's really at. I'm going off of what I see and what I expect. Ray thinks he's going to win the match. Ray's really confident. Really? We'll see. We will. Yeah, Ray thinks he's got something. He really does. And don't underestimate the mental thing here.
Confidence is a massive thing in sport. We know that. Anyway, we're going to move on to the main event. The Monster Michael Todd versus Devon No Limits Larratt. Talk about this one. This is huge. Obviously, these guys have competed against each other a couple of times before. I believe it's one win each.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is one for the ages, mate, because you are looking at guys. It's a fascinating blend. You're looking at guys who are unbelievably different characters. They're chalk and cheese, quite literally, day and night. And yet, within that absolute polar opposite approach to life, approach to so many things in their life and demeanor, they have some startling similarities in the manner in which they approach arm wrestling as a sport and as a way of life. These guys are lifers, and they're lifers to the highest possible. I mean, you're looking, people always talk in sport, they'll say, I'll go that extra mile. I'll go that little further than the next guy. But when it comes down to it, when there's blood in the water and it really counts, 90% of people have a breaking point, and once they get to that breaking point, they come down like a pack of cards. Michael Todd and Devon Larratt are cut from a very, very rare cloth, and it's a cloth that is blood-stained. Do not make any mistake about it. Both these men, when they say they'll go to the edge, they mean it. Michael Todd had a match with a guy called Wagner Bortolato, left-handed. This is going back a number of years in Arm Wars. The night before, and Wagner Bortolato at that time was the reigning WAF world champion on the left arm, favoured arm. Mike had some damage, actually, from a match that we'd had in Mallorca. Serious damage, only months before. And it hadn't healed, and he carried on trying to push himself. Typical Mike. Came into the match with Wagner, and he was doing an interview for Eurosport. And when the camera went off, he said, I'll tell you what it is, mate. Tomorrow, I am going to hit this dude 100 miles an hour exactly where he wants me to go, right in his sweet spot. And one or two things is going to happen. Either I'll woo on his ass, take his soul and smash him to the pad, or my arm will break, because he'll have to break my arm. I will not back off that shoulder. And you can think, okay, it's just one of those things and we'll see what happened. By 3:30 p.m. the next day, his arm was snapped. And he didn't back off the shoulder. When Wagner came in for the counter drive, Michael stayed in there, not a backward step. Stayed exact. Saw it coming, had time to move, had time to adjust his angle, and he didn't take a backward step. He stayed right on it and thought, okay, you know. Now, Devon become famous for the saying, test your frame. Same situation. Devon, talk about courage under fire. You know, it's like I said in the WAL, this is a guy that goes to a barbecue at Ronda Rousey's house, goes for a piss and leaves the toilet seat up. He's a risk taker. You know what I'm saying? He is not bothered. So a man that's made his living as a professional soldier, special forces soldier, courage under fire is what he does. The very, very interesting thing is the time that this match happens. If you chart the history of this arm wrestling match, it's been key times. The first time this match took place, Devon Larratt universally recognized at that time as the world's #1 arm wrestler.
Yeah.
That's a title that Michael Todd has hunted for the entirety of his career. He's wanted that. He begged and pleaded for the match with Devon at that time. He said, look, I want that match. And I actually didn't want it to happen. These were the heavyweights and the super heavyweight champion of Arm Wars, respectively. And I didn't really, I said, look, there's a myriad of other matches. We don't need that. You don't need to face him. Just, we'll find another match. I want Devon. He was pulling Tim Bresnan at the UAL in Tahoe. And he said, if I win this, you give me Devon. And I said, mate, if you impressively beat Bresnan today, we'll talk about it. Right, okay. So he beats Bresnan. I get on the bus. We're going back to the hotel after the event. That motherfucker came on that bus. He ran to the back seat, sat, knelt up on the seat, and he's saying, oh, I get Devon, right? I get Devon in Manchester. And I'm like, oh, my God. Trying to swerve it.
Can't say no now.
And I'm like, oh, talk about your all-time backfires. And I said, okay, look, yeah, all right, you get Devon. So, and he's off. Whoa, you're going to see. In that match, the first pin he actually took off Devon. He asked me outright. He said, who's going to win the match? I said, Devon's going to beat you, Michael. I'll give you the match, but you can't beat him. He'll beat you. In the first round, when he beat Devon, he runs to the front of the stage. I told you. I thought he was coming off the stage at me, you know. He was so amped up for it. He wanted it so bad. And he was the man who was recognized as #1. They meet again in Atlanta, okay, WAL. And Michael Todd, things have changed. Devon Larratt's had surgeries, never really got right on his right arm, had all kinds of issues, dropped to the 225 class, hasn't been as big or as powerful, and he certainly isn't recognized outside of his own mind as the world #1 anymore, okay? Michael Todd, on the other hand, has been pulling a murderer's row. He's put, if the guy's name had a full stop, if you're talking about one of the top guys in the world, Michael's pulled that man, and nobody's beaten him easy. Yeah. And he's had periods of time where it's hard to make an argument that Michael wasn't in the conversation for #1. Certainly top 3, undeniably top 3, you know. And he's done his usual situation where he's won matches, grinding battles against the very best guys. And he came into that match with an incredible amount of self-belief. The night before, I was having a drink with Mike, and Devon had been trying to mentally warp him the night before. He'd been talking to him, trying to
Devon seems to enjoy that side of things.
Loves it, mate. That's where he lives, you know, and he's trying to break in there, trying to pull Michael apart. And Michael there was a real calm about him, a real air of confidence, but not an arrogance. It was just a calm demeanor. Later on, I said to him, Mike, you seem in a good place, mate. He said, look, it's as simple as this. He said, I don't believe that Devon's the man right now. I don't believe he's been pulling at the level that I've been arm wrestling. And that's a big thing. You know, if you in strongman, if you've been competing elite level, you know, because the guys within the sport, you go to 5 countries and everybody knows.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Michael was aware of it. He knew that he'd faced Siplenkov, Trubin, Pushka, all the top guys in the world. And then, let me think, who's Devon faced in this period of time? He's got wins. He's done well. He's got his own belief, but he's not been competing against this murderer's role that I have. Yeah. So I'm battle tested right now today, and this guy isn't. And he said, I think he's going to get a shock. I think the level's gone up a little bit, and he's not kept pace with the, you know, he's in Peloton too, mate, and I'm right at the frigging front. And that was proven to be the case. He had a very good game plan. He stuck to it. Now, look at this set of criteria. The parameters have brought us to this state, right? You got Michael Todd, who is now pretty unarguably right there. You know, if he's not number one in the world, he's certainly top three. You know, you've got...
Would you say he's number one in North America?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. Personally, mate, I believe he's number one in the world.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I really do. In a one-on-one, let's be very clear, in a one-on-one format, I believe Michael Todd could be number one in the world, okay? And that's an interesting set of... There's a little bit of a nuance around that, which we'll come to in a moment. But Michael has the capability to beat any man on any day. If you were saying who's the favorite to be the best in the world, you're going to have to go with Laurence Shahlaei right now.
Sure.
But the one thing that Laurent has not faced is the Kings. By his own admission, he is concerned about that because of the weirdo factor, the freak factor, the X factor that the Kings move brings to someone who hasn't experienced it. And that is...
I guess it's not really something they experience in somewhere like Georgia.
No.
They're kind of almost frowned upon doing it, aren't they?
To be honest, mate, it's one of those things. It's people say, oh, yeah, it's a move, it's a style. Very few people can do the Kings. Very, very few people can perform it. And in the heavyweight division, really only one guy is performing it at that level, and that's MT. Nobody's Kings moving like Mike. Nobody's as tight as Mike in the Kings. Nobody's got it dialed in. And nobody has the options within the Kings move that Mike does. Mike's transitions from the Kings are exceptional. His ability to hit the press from a Kings is remarkable, is unique in that respect. So it's the freak.
Why do you think so many people are against it? Because you hear so many people that just say it's cheating or he's hiding under the table. I'm someone that, you know, I was training a guy the other day and we were talking about doing Viking press, and he was going on about strict pressing the Viking. I was like, well, why are you strict pressing it? You know, he said, oh, it's more manly. I said, it doesn't matter if it's more manly, you want to win. And I remember competing against a guy, we did a Viking press. This guy did 8 reps. He strict pressed every rep. It was impressive as hell. The shoulders on this guy were monstrous, amazing tricep power. He sat there, just strict pressed 8 reps. Unbelievable.
Yep.
I did 20 reps. I used my legs. I won the competition. I couldn't have done 8 reps so strict press. Honestly, I couldn't have done what he did. But
you went home with the money.
No, yeah. I still went home with the trophy.
Yeah, you went home with the trophy and the money, and you're a professional strongman. That's what you're there to do. And let's be honest, that's what Michael and Devon have been preaching, mate. You know, now I got to say, is the King's move aesthetically pleasing? Absolutely not. I mean, it is not for me, it's not an attractive move. It's not visceral. You know what I mean? If you watch a fight, you want to see 2 guys walk and stand on a 2-penny piece in the center of the ring and try and knock each other's head into the 5th row. You know, the Marvin Hagler, bloody Tommy Hearns first round. That's what you want, innit? You want to come out and woof, it's on.
Yeah.
But imagine you got a guy who is just rangy and awkward, steps to the center of the ring and throws a jab with one hand, but it's a piston jab, and it's just whack, 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 over and over again, hitting you with a jab. Never lets you find your balance point, never lets you find your groove, set yourself for the body shot, set yourself for the uppercut, never lets you get there. That's the King's move. The King's move it's a horrible experience. You're trying to gain position, to climb, to shape, to get to the real strength elements of your game, and you're overly pronated. You can't access them, and it creates an enormous amount of lactic acid buildup, bleed in your arm, destroys you. It completely dismantles most people's game, and it's lesser understood. So a lot of people haven't got either the understanding of the move to counter it, or the physical capabilities to counter it. And that's why it frustrates people, because there's a period there where it seems dormant, you know, almost like the jab. It's not visceral. It's just keeping the guy out of his power for a period of time. It's like somebody playing snooker.
I have to say, though, like, you know, as, just from a fan's perspective, I actually, before I even kind of started talking to Michael and kind of got to know him, I used to enjoy watching him. I mean, one of my favorite matches I've seen was you and him on the beach.
Hey, Michael in his early days, Loz, was incredibly exciting.
But it's always a war with him. With Michael, regardless of the way he arm wrestles, he goes to the well every single time. And I think as an athlete and as a fan, you have to respect that.
Yeah.
When you know someone is just, and you said it earlier, but these are two men that are willing to put they're putting their arms on the, you know, they will break their arms to win this. You know, that's how much it means to them. And that's not normal. You know, 99% of people are not willing to go to that point.
No, they're not.
But with these two, you've got two guys in the sport that are willing to give it all on the table, which is massively exciting.
There's so many unique elements to this match. The one that fascinates me the most is that the criteria that we've got to now is that Devon Larratt is almost viewed as the underdog. Leading into the match, Mike was right there. He's the guy that was chasing that recognition as number one in the world. Whether you love him or hate him, if you'd beaten Saganashvili, you would have, you know, you could be the biggest Michael Todd hater in the world. And there's a few of them, you know, and even they would have had to go, well, I hate that motherfucker, but he won. Yeah. you know, and that would have been the thing. It would have been, you got to give it him. He's got to be the guy. But then there's always the one guy that your coach is like, oh yeah, but well, not. But
that's bad news. You don't want any of him.
You don't want him. You don't want. If you're going into a Hercules hold, you really don't want to face Mark Felix.
Sure.
You won't beat Mark Felix in every other frigging event all night, but not that one.
Yeah. Yes.
The bogey event, the bogey man for it. Now, Devon Larratt is that guy.
Yeah.
For Michael Todd. More so than Jerry Carteret. For Michael Todd specifically, Devon Larratt represents a 6'5" banana skin. He's right at the precipice of being recognized as world number one, and he takes a match because of the YouTube popularity and that pressure. He takes a match with a guy that is a horrible match for him. And especially when Devon comes in utterly refocused.
Yeah.
This is a different Devon Larratt.
He's looked focused.
Mate, forget the fun, the light-hearted nature that Devon's bringing to this, the pancakes, the troll army, all the fun that's come with it, which is awesome. I love all that. But don't underestimate that man is gone to win. He has not gone for second place.
No.
He believes he's going to win. He believes that he's in a position where he can win. He has more weapons than Michael Todd. No doubt about that. Michael will tell you that himself. If there is no strength gap, no significant strength gap, Devon represents a very difficult match for Michael Todd, and this is why.
Yeah.
Because his experience of arm wrestling Michael Todd is as good or better than anyone else, with the possible exception of Jerry Carteret. He's been embroiled in more battles with this guy than anyone else. Most significantly, he understands the nuances, the secrets, the myth, and the legend behind the King's move. He understands how it works. He understands how it works for Michael.
Yeah.
What Michael specifically is doing, and when he is applying those pressures, what it does to the opponent. He can emulate it, maybe not perfectly and not in the same manner, but he can emulate that. So he's got the opportunity to fight fire with fire a little bit, but with better levers.
I saw Devon go against Dave Chafee, and utilize the King's move himself.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I mean,
Was that new for Devon to kind of?
It was new to Devon against a man of that power, that level of power. And that's where we saw the difference. As I said a moment ago, it's longer lever, not as much raw top-end horsepower, not as tight. Devon more open in his style. Just the fact that his arm is as long as it is, the leverage works against him a little bit, against somebody with... And Dave is astronomically strong, you know, ridiculously strong and kind of clunky, awkward. He's not got that orthodox, purist arm wrestling style himself. You know, you only have to watch Dave Chafee train. He doesn't train like a normal guy. He trains weird positions. The arc of his motions is weird.
Strong.
Horrible, mate. If I was Dave, I'd be scared to take a piss. Unbelievably strong man. Horrible, you know? Yeah. But Devon was a big underdog in that match. A lot of people did not think Devon was going to win. And speaking to Devon and knowing Devon personally, Devon at that time had a lot of stuff going on. We're not going to get into details, but he was a lot of stuff going on, not necessarily 100% focused. Devon's come into this with a renewed level of focus, almost like he's a little bit reborn, you know what I mean, in a weird way, in terms of his approach to the sport and what he's doing. And I think he sees this as a huge opportunity, which is almost crafted by the gods and given to him. He may not be able to beat Laurence Shahlaei, and Michael Todd may, but he might be able to beat Michael Todd.
I guess with arm wrestling, it's very much like boxing, in that styles can make matches, and there can just be awkward people out there for you. And, you know, I think it's a really exciting match with lots of kind of unknowns. You know, it's been a while now. When was the last time they went against each other? It's a few years back now.
We're going back to 2017, I believe, 18. I believe 18.
Yeah, so it's been a few years now. Yeah. You know, they've both not gone against anyone else in the last year, not properly. Mm-hmm. You know, so they're both going to be hopefully fresh in the best shape they can possibly be. I believe they're already both over in Dubai now.
Yeah. Physical changes in both as well. Devon's...
He's gone massive, hasn't he? He's put on some beef.
Did you see his
pumpkins?
Oh, God, he looks big. And Devon's a massive frame man. He's a big man.
Yeah.
Much bigger frame than Mike. Michael was like a bloody fitness model. I pulled Michael when he was 90 kilos, ripped to the bone, you know. Now you look at him. But what's most notable about Mike is that I've never seen Mike, you know, you can talk about the size, you know, the size of his shoulders or his neck or his pecs or his all these things. Not all that, don't matter so much.
His forearm and
wrist and hand. If you look at Mike's wrist and hand, the development around his wrist and hand right now look really significant. That is going to be key, because if he can stop Devon from accessing center and keep him supinated, keep him outside of that pronation and prevent the rise. The rise for Devon is a big thing. Big thing. Critical, in fact. Devon has to be able to hold center and access rise. If he can't hold center, and by hold center, I'm talking about not get really outside his shoulder. The problem of getting outside the shoulder to that degree where it's stretched open is that Mike can then access the press. And I honestly believe that Mike's ability to do that now is probably better than it's ever been. I think he's quite happy to hit hard, get a guy driven over, and then come and really access that press hard. And if he does that, he will win the match. You know, if he can get to the press, it's pretty unstoppable. It's like somebody driving a train through your arm. Oh. If that doesn't happen, and he gets held anywhere near sort of this position, that sort of position, just anywhere in that area, and Devon can climb, it is on. Oh my God. And then that's when, I mean, I don't really care who wins. I love both these men. They're like some of my closest friends in the sport.
Yeah. What
I want to see is both men bring their A game and it deliver on the potential that this match has. I don't want... Mike said, mate, you're going to be pissed off because I'm going to run through this dude. I'm going to crush him. It's going to be boring. You're going to a match. And after we start, everybody's going to be like, that's it. That was it. That's what all this hype is about. He said, I'm sorry to disappoint anybody, but I'm going for the money and I'm going to run this guy over.
We haven't seen that before with them, have we?
No, we haven't. I think I don't see that happening. I just don't. I think at some point, Devon is versatile enough to try things, brave enough to try things. And I think at some point he accesses that. And he's desperate enough to try things. If it comes to it, Devon Larratt has gone to fight. That's what he does. He's a scrapper in his DNA. So if it means finding a way to win in the setups via pulling little cheats, whatever he can do to create confusion in the match, create problems in the setup, he will do it. There's no limits and there's no rules. He's not bothered about how he beats you, but he is coming to beat. Make no mistake. And Michael knows that. Michael knows exactly what he's in with. He doesn't expect an easy ride. But if the breaks go on, oh my God. Expect whoever wins this match, they will have to bleed to do it. I promise you that. And that's what excites me about it.
It's building up. It's only a few days away now. I'm super excited about it. Before we go, what are the rules for this match? Because obviously you kind of look at Arm Wars, you look at WAL. There's always different rules in arm wrestling. So what are we looking at? Yep. What do people need to know about this?
Pulling over 6 rounds. They are pulling a hybrid system of rules. If I do have a concern about this whole thing, that'll be it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not necessarily a fan of some of the things that are in there. That's just my take on it. I've never been a fan of the sort of 3 foul system when used with running fouls, because it gives the opportunity for the rules to be written a little harder than I'd like them to be.
Sure. And these men will ride those rules, won't they?
Oh my God! Like I said,
both of them will.
They both will. I feel like if you had to be honest and say, okay, who is likely to try to take advantage of the rules the most, I'd say that's Devon. Yeah. I'd say Devon is that he's the fox. He's going to try to use everything and anything, Both men want. Devon talked about it a lot in his early career. He wants the head nod. He wants that recognition that he's the man. He wants that. Never mind. He wants everybody else to see it, but it's not. He doesn't really give a shit whether I walk away and you walk away, and the rest of the arm wrestling community who walk away and think Devon Larratt's a good arm wrestler. Devon Larratt already knows he is, and he doesn't really care what anybody thinks. What he wants to know is that he is there now. He wants to know that he is deserving now. Michael Todd wants that to the point of breaking. He wants that to the point of he needs to touch it once in his life. Devon,
he's been there
feels like he has.
Yeah.
Michael, perhaps unfairly, has never been given that nod and that recognition. And he desperately wants it once. Just that one time where the arm wrestling community go, you know what, Mike? We'll give you the nod of the cap. You're the man right now, today. And if that happens to be Friday the 28th, he'll take it. Whatever gets him there,
Yeah, I think you can see that with Michael. You see that passion when he's arm wrestling. You can see he just wants people to say, you're the man.
Yes, he does. More than anything else.
Yeah.
He's... Michael's a complex character, as both these men are, but Michael's a complex character.
Most of us in these kind of types of sports are. We're all a bit messed up.
He's a wonderful character. He's a nice lad, Mike. Takes a lot of abuse, takes a lot of heat, but at the base of him, he's a lovely bloke. He's a cracking lad, and he's almost got a childlike purity about him. There's no hidden agendas, or he just wants to be the man.
He seems really excited and passionate.
I want to check in with Mike actually in the next day or so. I'm going to give him a buzz and just how you doing, mate? Where's your head at? That for me, that's this whole frigging thing is going to be decided on that. I'm in no doubt whatsoever that the match is not necessarily going to be designed. Yeah, mate. It was in Atlanta.
It's a man against man sport. It's not just about like lifting weights. You get in the other man's head, it makes a difference in these combat sports. And arm wrestling is no different in that respect.
I'd love to have a fly on the wall camera right now in there over with them. I mean, this is gold.
It's a shame we're not over there. It really is. You know, the way the world is right now, so frustrating. But we'll do the best we can. Guys, I've taken up too much of Neil's time, but coresports.world is where you can watch this. Friday night, 6 p.m. in the UK. I believe it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time in the States. Go and check out on Instagram. There'll be a whole list of times for everywhere over the world. But we are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to working with Neil. I'm looking forward to seeing who wins these matches. It's going to be exciting. Just before you go, who are you picking for the win?
The favourite for the match is Michael Todd. The favourite for the match is Michael Todd. I believe that in the first round of the match, I'll know who's going to win. I think as soon as I see the first hit of the first match in myself, I think I'll know who'll win. As I say, it's a weird one, Loz, and I'm not ducking this at all. It's almost like if my sons had a fist fight.
I totally get what you say, because people always ask me about Strongman and they're like, who do you think is going to win? I know once I see them start competing.
Yeah. I think I might even know an hour before. I knew in Atlanta.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, I told Mike in Arm Wars in Manchester, I said to Mike, I got Devon. I think Devon will beat you. And I said, I don't know why you want this match that bad, because he's going to beat you. And he did actually beat him. In Atlanta, I had Devon picked until 10 minutes actually, before the match. All day, I've been saying to Ben Holden, my co-com over there, I said, he said, who have you got? I said, I got Devon in a war. I think it's going to be 4-2, but Devon's going to get him. He's got more tools. He'll get him, break him down. Mike will be gutted, and then he'll want another shot an hour later when he calms down. But he'll lose the match. I go to see Devon backstage. I just want to go and see both my close friends, so I want to just check in and say, mate, best of luck, stay safe, go balls out. I go backstage to see Devon, and he was vacant. He wasn't there. Not the same Devon. I don't know why. He wasn't, and that may be a good thing. Maybe if it's a different fella over here, but I can assure you in Atlanta he wasn't there. That wasn't Devon. Just wasn't. He was somewhere else. I went to see Michael Todd. He was standing in front of the bleachers watching the rest of the show. I went over. I said, good luck, Mike. I just got, don't need luck. Like, don't need luck. I said, you okay? Oh, yeah, I'm okay. Watch this. He was so supremely confident, and I could feel the frigging energy coming off him. He did not believe it. I think he felt like, you get that situation where you just feel invincible.
Yeah.
That was Mike. I walked back up to the commentary desk. I said, holy shit. He said, what? And I said, mate, I'm changing bets. Mike's got this. He said, you're going with Mike? I said, I'm telling you, he's it's on.
It's a weird thing when you've got that confidence. It very rare. Like one time in my career, I can remember feeling like that, and I won Europe's Strongest Man that day. And I remember Colin Bryce in my face with a camera, trying to wind me up like Colin does, and say things. And I think it was me and Terry going head to head on the car walk, and he had the camera in my face. He's like, "Who's going to win this?" And just calmly as anything, I just looked at him and said, "Me." I don't know why. Just sometimes as an athlete, you just know. And I wish I could be like that every competition, but it's not the case. But
bottle that what it was. Oh my God, it's the essence of it, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's just that day where bring who you want. I'm ready. I'm here. I'm ready. And Mike was there. He was ready. And that's why I wish we were there, because
being around it, that excitement, the environment makes such a difference.
Because we're all dead, aren't we? You know what I mean? People forget that all these guys, they're just human. We don't know whether Mike or Devon happened to have a terrible night's sleep the night before, things that you don't know.
Exactly. Argument with the wife, problem at home, bad night's sleep, they might get the shits. It's just stupid things like that. But all these little things can affect performance. And that's why it's exciting as a fan, because we do not know what's going to happen. It's going to be exciting, guys. Make sure you tune in. It's coresports.world, 6 p.m. in the UK. Myself and Neil will be doing the commentating. Neil, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, mate.
I'm looking forward to Friday, and we'll catch up then.
Can't wait. And yeah, look forward to seeing all you guys on there. Hope you can all check it out. Get the pay-per-view. This is going to be one you don't want to miss.
We'll put the link in the description below. And guys, comment below with who you think is going to win. Not just the Devon and Michael match, but the Schoolboy against Larry as well. Take it easy.
Take it easy, mate.
While you're here, guys, subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.